President Xi Jinping talks about a new golden 30 years during APEC summit. Paul Chan says he has achieved his objectives in San Francisco. And questions over whether essential supplies will reach Gaza on time. Hello and welcome to TVB News. The Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Economic Leaders Meeting has concluded. Speaking at the event, President Xi Jinping urged fellow APEC members to facilitate an open and fair environment for technological development and not to politicize and weaponize global trade. Xi reiterated China has no intention to usurp the place of other countries in its national development. Timothy Lee has our top story.
When President Xi Jinping attended the APEC meeting in San Francisco on Friday local time, he delivered an important speech. He said the global economy is facing multiple risks and challenges. He said as the global growth engine, the Asia-Pacific shoulders a great responsibility. Xi talked about developing a new golden 30 years in the region, including the implementation of the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development to benefit the global population. He stressed innovation is a strong driving force behind development and called for international cooperation. He also said nations should remain open for trade and investment. Regarding climate change, the president stressed the need for countries to speed up the process of transitioning to green models of development to achieve eventual carbon neutrality. He reiterated China's development is not meant to overtake other countries, but instead better the lives of its people. President Xi said the nation will implement policies to open itself to the global community, push for global modernization, and provide new opportunities. Leaders of the APEC Forum issued a joint declaration emphasizing the body is determined to provide a free and fair environment for trade and investment in the region. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Financial Secretary Paul Chan spoke to the press to wrap up his participation in the APEC summit. He said his objectives have been achieved. Chan also said he reported to President Xi Jinping on the situation of Hong Kong. Mimosa Ngai reports.
Financial Secretary Paul Chan attended the second day of the APEC summit as the city's representative. At the meeting, President Xi Jinping sat next to Chan. Like the previous meeting, they engaged in a brief conversation. Speaking to the press and wrapping up his trip, the finance chief said President Xi cares about the SAR.
He is very kind to Hong Kong. So I took the opportunity to brief him about the economic and social situation in Hong Kong, and also taking this opportunity to brief him about the initiatives taken by this term of government, particularly on attracting strategic enterprises and attracting talents.
Chan also shared some of the main points agreed during the meetings.
I have a better grasp of how the various economies see the economic prospect in 2024. And I also realized that during the past few years, a lot of economy had spent a lot on pandemic-related expenditure. Everyone seems to be agreeing that in the coming year, the first and foremost task is to grow the economy, to rebuild the financial buffer, to rebuild the fiscal space, as well as through development, improving the quality of life of people.
Paul Chan added he explained the advantages of the SAR to other attendees in San Francisco. Chan believed more foreign enterprises and talent will be attracted to the city. Mimosa Ngai, TVB News.
At least 14 people were injured after a coach was suspected to have lost control and crashed into the entrance of the Hong Kong funeral home on Java Road in North Point. The coach was carrying passengers who were visiting the funeral home. 9 victims were sent to Pamela Ute Nethersoul Eastern Hospital, while another 2 received treatment at Ratunchi Hospital. Timothy Lee tells us more.
The front of the coach was severely damaged after it slammed into one of the pillars at the Hong Kong funeral home's entrance. Shards of glass could be seen strewn across the lobby. A dozen passengers on the vehicle, including 5 men and 7 women, as well as 2 funeral home staff members, were injured in the incident. Some of them received head injuries and were carried to the ambulance via stretcher, while others had to wear neck braces. Uninjured passengers left the bus on their own and were transferred to another vehicle. The incident occurred at around 11 this morning when some coach passengers said another vehicle was approaching their bus on Java Road. This passenger recalled seeing a vehicle bumping into the tour bus, and the coach driver eventually crashed into the funeral home's entrance pillar. The crash also involved another truck, which suffered damage to its front. The coach was later removed from the scene by crane. Staff members of the Hong Kong funeral home could be seen assessing the damage to its lobby as well as the building's exterior. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
The United Nations said a lack of fuel forced it to stop delivery of food and other necessities to Gaza on Friday, warning of widespread starvation among the 2.3 million population. Israel said it would allow 2 tanker trucks of fuel into Gaza each day for the UN and communication systems, half of what is required for daily aid activities. Israel's operation in Gaza is in response to Hamas' October 7th attack on Israeli soil that killed a reported 1,200, while almost 12,000 people in Gaza have been killed. After this week's storming of the Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza City, Israel is under pressure to show proof that it was used as a Hamas command center. Nasty Karim with more.
The queues for food in Gaza are growing, relying solely on aid from outside, as shops in the besieged strip bear mostly empty shelves. Communications were also almost non-existent until partially restored on Saturday. Israel has blocked the entry of fuel since October 7 because of fears the trucks will be hijacked by Hamas. The UN says Gaza needs 120,000 litres a day to function, while Israel has agreed to 70,000 a day. And the urgency for fuel and aid near the Rafah crossing from Egypt is likely to increase, with Israel issuing new evacuation orders for weary Palestinians. Israel has asked Palestinians sheltering the south of Gaza to move east because the Israeli military, the IDF, wants to expand its search for Hamas operatives in the south. After storming the Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza City in the north, Israel is under pressure to produce conclusive evidence that the site was used by Hamas as a command center. Despite releasing video footage of a weapons haul, some experts say proof has yet to be established. An IDF spokesperson said it's going to take time to search the entire sprawling complex and find Hamas remnants. This as Israel continues to bomb southern targets, including the Nusayrat refugee camp, where 41 people were killed and many others buried under rubble. And in Khan Yunis, where a strike killed 11 members of a family who had fled from Gaza City in the north. The UN said it is concerned about Israel's operations in the south, saying that no place in Gaza is now safe. Nazri Karim, TVB News.
Welcome back. Chief Executive John Lee said on Saturday that the enactment of Article 23 of the Basic Law must be completed by next year. The CE made his remark at the Fight Crime Conference organized by the Fight Crime Committee. Memo Sangai reports.
After a 5-year hiatus, the Fight Crime Conference was held at the central government offices today. The event was attended by Chief Executive John Lee alongside other government officials, including Chief Secretary for Administration Eric Chan and Security Secretary Chris Tan. In his speech, the CE said this year's conference is special, being the first one since the implementation of the city's national security law. While peace and stability has returned to Hong Kong under the legislation, the CE said the public should stay alert to threats and dangers in times of peace. The enactment of the Article 23 of the Basic Law needs to be completed next year, he stressed. Meanwhile, in one of the plenary sessions of the conference, Secretary for Justice Paul Lam discussed national security education. Lam said people often possess some misconception when they hear about the term national security and connect it with brainwashing. He explained the purpose of promoting national security education is to enhance public awareness. Mims 9, TVB News.
Tomorrow is Senior Citizens Day. People aged 65 or above can enjoy free rides on a number of forms of transport. Individuals who possess senior citizen cards and octopus cards can take the MTR, light rail, and MTR buses for free on Sunday. However, the benefits do not include some MTR services such as Airport Express. Bus passengers can also enjoy free rides. In a bid to bring fun and connect both Singaporeans and Hong Kong people in the SAR, the Singapore Festival kicked off today at Central Market, featuring various cuisines and performances from the Lion City. Inaugurating the two-day event were Chief Secretary for Administration Eric Chan, former Chief Executive Donald Tsang, and several members of the Executive Council. The festival runs from noon till 10 p.m. with game booths, free face painting, and live band performances. Also available for purchase were Singaporean delicacies including satay skewers, chicken rice, and pandan kaya toasts. Co-organizer of the event, the Singapore Chamber of Commerce Hong Kong, said they hope the event could help to not just foster business, but also cultural exchanges.
This event is for us to bring Singapore culture and Singapore food to Hong Kong. First is to unite Singaporean community who live in Hong Kong, and also Singapore and Hong Kong, the two major cities in Asia. And I think there's a lot of opportunity, especially for Singaporean company who want to go into Greater Bay Area. And I think Hong Kong is a very good gateway.
Like several other ASEAN countries, Indonesia has notched impressive growth in multiple sectors and attracted some Hong Kong talent to its workforce. In the fourth part of our special series Connecting Indonesia, TVB News spoke to a Hong Konger who has worked for 10 years in the archipelago's online retail sector. This as in recent years, e-commerce in Indonesia has enjoyed exponential growth and is expected to sustain its upward trajectory over the next few years. Anthony Fung from Hong Kong has worked in Indonesia for more than 10 years at an online fashion retailer, a market leader with its headquarters in Singapore. First as a CEO and now a chief strategy officer at the company, Fung said Indonesia has a lot to offer for businesses, especially in e-commerce.
If you can win a market that has a 250 million population, the price of the game at the end game is very big.
Big but not an easy game for foreign players.
Indonesia is still an emerging market. There's always a refreshment of policies, and they come very sudden. And then it's generally a lot more red tape to set up a new business or, versus Hong Kong.
So what's the allure? With an annual growth of nearly 25%, Indonesia is becoming the third fastest growing e-commerce market worldwide as of October. Thanks to increasing internet access and a growing middle class, the online retail sales volume in Indonesia is predicted to ratchet up from $58 billion in 2022 to $160 billion by 2030. And Fung's company is the most visited fashion and apparel website in Indonesia. But challenges remain. Over the past 3 years, Fung said the garment and fashion industry saw more protectionist policies in Indonesia, including increased taxes and tightened quotas on imports. Among the biggest moves, a ban on e-commerce transactions on social media platforms from September 2023, with TikTok being hit the hardest. Fung's company is an online retail platform rather than a social media company, so it's not affected. Associate Professor Tuan Kwan Fan at the University of Hong Kong's Business School, who's an expert in Southeast Asian e-commerce, said the bans are intended to protect Indonesia's traditional merchants and marketplaces from predatory pricing on social media platforms.
We want to help it to grow in a more responsible way. Right now, about 61% of Indonesia's GDP is based on SMEs and small sellers. So that would have a huge impact on the economy if suddenly comes in, and it would give a huge unemployment and a huge economic impact.
On concerns about the ban's impact on his company, Fung said he's not too worried.
We have hired a lot of the local talents here. As long as you play together with the government and follow their policies, I actually don't think there is any concern for us.
While this fashion group has an 11% penetration rate in the online retail market across 7 countries in Asia, including Indonesia, Singapore, the Philippines, and Malaysia, it's looking set to further boost its export volume, particularly from Hong Kong to other regions in Southeast Asia. Daisaku Ikeda, who headed the Japanese Buddhist organization Soka Gakkai, has died at 95. Ikeda was recognized for his years of contribution to Sino-Japan friendship. In 1968, he called for the normalization of Sino-Japan diplomatic ties. In 2018, he was conferred with an award by the Chinese People's Association for friendship with foreign countries in recognition of his efforts. Unlike some religions that emphasize the virtue of suffering, Ikeda stressed the positive, speaking often of happiness. And that's the news. Thank you for watching.